My beloved child, there is a reason this moment feels unlike many moments that came before it. If something quietly guided you here today, even if you cannot fully understand why, listen to that inner feeling. Sometimes life begins shifting in silence before any clear evidence appears. Sometimes the most important changes begin beneath the surface before the world can notice what is happening. This may be one of those meaningful moments. Before this day started, before you reached this exact point, a thought about you entered someone's mind with surprising intensity. It was not a random thought that appeared for a moment and quickly disappeared. It stayed, it returned. It became stronger each time it came back. What began as a simple feeling slowly transformed into something much more powerful. Even now, while you are hearing these words, that feeling may still be growing somewhere outside your view. Do not ignore this too quickly. There may be something important unfolding quietly in the background. There is someone who has reached a place where thinking about the future feels incomplete unless they can somehow see you within it. This realization caught them off guard. They never imagined they would feel this way. At the beginning, they tried to convince themselves it was nothing serious. They thought maybe they were only interested because you seemed different from the people they had known before. Later, they described it as respect. They told themselves they simply admired certain things about you. They tried to explain it through small details they noticed along the way. They started paying attention to the little things about you, the way you express yourself, the way you listen when someone speaks, the way you take a moment before answering, the way you remain yourself even when nobody is paying attention, the way your energy stays in their thoughts after you are no longer around. At first, these details seemed normal. They seemed like small observations that anyone could notice, but slowly, those small pieces began creating a bigger picture inside their heart and mind. Over time, that picture became harder to ignore. Without even realizing it, they began looking forward to moments that involved you. They started remembering conversations that others might have forgotten. They replayed simple interactions and searched for deeper meaning within them. And then something happened. There was a moment that changed the way they saw everything. You may not remember that moment at all. You may have thought it was just another ordinary day, but for them, it became something they carried with them. Maybe it was a sentence you spoke. Maybe it was a kind gesture. Maybe it was the way you reacted in a difficult moment. Maybe it was only a quiet pause where nothing needed to be said. Whatever it was, that moment created an impression that stayed. Even after time passed, they found themselves returning to that memory. Days later, it was still clear. Weeks later, it remained in their thoughts. Even after months, something about that experience continued to feel special. What makes this situation different is that they are no longer thinking only about the present. They have started imagining what could happen if your journey and their journey continued moving together. That thought did not appear suddenly or easily. It came after uncertainty. It came after hesitation. It came after many attempts to ignore what they were feeling. There were times when they told themselves to step back. There were times when they tried filling their mind with other things. There were moments when they wondered if they were creating meaning where there was nothing. But every attempt to move away brought them back to the same feeling. It remained there. It did not disappear. Instead, it became clearer. Instead of becoming weaker, it became more difficult to deny. What makes this powerful is that they are not only following emotion. They are thinking deeply. They are observing carefully. They are noticing what truly matters. They recognize that your presence brings calm into moments that once felt overwhelming. They notice that conversations with you stay in their memory longer than expected. They realize that the moments connected to you feel brighter than many bigger events from their past. These thoughts have slowly become impossible for them to push away. And there is something even more important you need to understand. Some people enter our lives for a short time. Some people appear during one chapter and then leave when that chapter ends. But there are rare connections where someone's presence begins influencing future choices before any major words are spoken. Their existence starts becoming part of how another person sees tomorrow. They begin considering possibilities they never considered before. They begin looking at life from a different perspective. You may be becoming that kind of presence in someone's heart, the kind of presence that is not easily replaced, the kind of presence that quietly leaves a mark, the kind of presence that makes someone stop and ask themselves deeper questions. Stay with this thought, because there is more beneath the surface than what appears at first. Sometimes the strongest feelings do not arrive loudly. Sometimes they grow in silence, through memories, through small moments, and through the simple impact one person has on another. And sometimes the person who changed everything does not even realize the effect they had. That is why there have been times when they appeared more silent than normal. But that silence was not meaningless. Behind that quietness, they were thinking deeply. They were considering possibilities. They were asking themselves questions they never expected to ask. What if this feeling is truly real? What if this connection carries a deeper purpose? What if this person is not just passing through my life? What if this moment is opening the door to something important? Those thoughts keep returning. And even though they may not have expressed them openly, their behavior has already started showing what is happening inside them. Maybe they search for reminders of you more often now. Maybe they feel your absence faster than they used to. Maybe they remember small details you mentioned that even you no longer think about. Maybe they replay conversations in their mind after the moment has already ended. These things are not happening randomly. Something within them has connected meaning to your presence. And the reason that meaning continues becoming stronger is because they recognize something unusual in you, something that is not easy to explain, something that continues pulling their attention back. They see a calm kind of strength. They see honesty. They see emotional understanding. They see qualities that feel rare in a world where many people only show what they want others to see. Many people try to create an image. Many people chase attention. Many people focus only on what is visible. But you bring something different. You bring depth. You bring truth. You bring a feeling of being genuine, and that difference has started leaving a lasting impact. What they feel is not based only on excitement or temporary interest. It is not simply a passing emotion that appears today and disappears tomorrow. Something deeper has been forming. Something connected to respect, comfort, and emotional value. It is being built on something that feels strong enough to survive changes, challenges, and uncertain moments. That is why thoughts about the future began appearing sooner than they expected. Sometimes people recognize peace before they can explain it logically. Sometimes the heart notices something valuable before the mind understands the reason. That is exactly what has been happening inside them. Even if they still look unsure from the outside, there is more clarity growing within them than you may realize. There is also something they have kept hidden from others. There have been moments when they almost decided to speak honestly with you. Moments when they wanted to reveal what they have been feeling. They imagined the conversation. They imagined the words they would choose. They imagined how you might react. But every time they reached that point, hesitation returned. Not because their feelings are weak, not because they do not care, but because the feeling has become meaningful to them. When something truly matters, people become more careful. They fear saying too much too soon. They fear creating pressure. They fear making a mistake that could harm something precious before it has the chance to grow. That is the place where they currently stand, between staying quiet and opening their heart, between protecting themselves and taking a risk, between waiting for the perfect moment and choosing courage. And recently, something may have happened that made them understand their feelings even more clearly. Maybe there was some distance between you. Maybe conversations became less frequent. Maybe life became busy and created space between you. Maybe there was a quiet period where things felt different. Whatever the reason, there was a moment when your presence was not as close as before. And during that time, they discovered something they had not fully understood. They realized how much they missed having you around. Sometimes people only recognize the importance of something when it is no longer constantly available. Sometimes distance reveals what closeness was hiding. Sometimes silence brings answers that words cannot provide. That period showed them that your presence had already become valuable. It showed them that you had taken a much bigger place in their thoughts than they originally admitted. It showed them that this feeling was not simply temporary. That realization changed something inside them, because once someone begins seeing a future possibility, the way they look at everything starts to shift. Suddenly, choices feel more important. Suddenly, hopes feel stronger. Suddenly, questions that were easy to ignore become impossible to avoid. Stay with this thought, because there is another layer to what they have been experiencing. That is why the idea of creating something meaningful with you has started appearing more often in their mind. Not because they have every answer, not because they know exactly what tomorrow will bring, but because something inside them no longer wants to treat this connection as something ordinary. While you may still wonder who could be thinking about you this deeply, someone has already started seeing their life differently because your presence became part of their journey. Thoughts they expected to disappear continue returning. Memories they thought would fade continue staying alive. Feelings they tried to understand continue becoming clearer. An ordinary day suddenly feels different because something reminds them of you. A quiet moment becomes special because a memory appears. A simple situation brings back something you once said or something you once did. And each time this happens, they find themselves asking the same questions. Why does this feel so different? Why does this continue growing instead of disappearing? Why does this person remain in my thoughts even after time has passed? They have tried finding practical explanations. They have analyzed their emotions. They have questioned whether they are seeing more than what exists. But every time they search for an answer, they return to the same realization. This feeling carries weight. At first, they believed it was only curiosity. Then they noticed it remained even during difficult moments. It remained through distractions. It remained through busy days. It remained even when there was uncertainty, and that taught them something important. Feelings with real meaning do not always disappear when circumstances become complicated. Some connections continue speaking even when there is distance. Some emotions remain present even when people try to silence them. That is why they now find themselves imagining different futures and asking one important question. Would those futures feel the same if you were not part of them? That question has become difficult for them to ignore. The more they think about it, the stronger its importance becomes. Because when they imagine tomorrow, your presence somehow makes those possibilities feel warmer. Plans feel more meaningful, dreams feel more connected. The future feels more complete. They may not fully understand how they reached this point, but they cannot deny what has been happening within them. You have become part of their thoughts. You have become connected to their hopes. You have become someone they quietly consider when they imagine what comes next. This does not mean every decision has already been made. It does not mean every step will happen instantly. Life still requires choices. Life still requires patience. Life still has unexpected turns. But something important has started growing. A small feeling has developed into something stronger. A simple connection has become a meaningful possibility. And as time continues moving forward, they keep noticing more reasons why you matter. They notice your patience. They notice your kindness. They notice your ability to keep moving forward even when life becomes challenging. They notice the qualities that many people overlook. They notice the person you are when there is nothing to prove and nobody watching. And the more they see, the more admiration grows alongside their feelings, because what affects them most is not only the moments when you shine, it is the consistency of who you are. It is the character you show during ordinary days. It is the authenticity that appears naturally without effort. Those qualities leave a deeper impression than temporary charm ever could. Those qualities stay in someone's memory. Those qualities are becoming harder for them to forget. So while you continue living your life, focusing on your journey and moving through each day, remember this. Somewhere beyond what you can see, someone may be carrying thoughts and feelings that have become increasingly difficult for them to ignore. A heart is now asking questions it never thought it would ask. A heart is beginning to imagine possibilities it never believed were possible. And with every new day, those thoughts become more defined. The feeling becomes deeper. The vision becomes clearer. What started as a small thought has slowly transformed into something much more meaningful. What began as curiosity has developed into connection. What began as simple attention has grown into something significant. And what started quietly continues expanding through every moment, every memory, and every feeling. The story is still moving forward. The future has not been written yet, but one thing has already become certain. You matter more than you understand. Your presence has created an impact deeper than you can see. And somewhere, someone continues carrying that realization within their heart even now. Recently, they noticed something about you that went far beyond your appearance. It went beyond simple conversations. It went beyond ordinary interest. They started recognizing qualities that cannot be discovered through a quick first impression. They noticed the way you handle uncertainty. They noticed how you keep moving even when life does not provide clear answers. They noticed how you remain calm in moments where many people would lose their balance. That quiet strength stayed in their thoughts long after the moment ended. They continued remembering it. The memory followed them through normal days. It returned during peaceful moments when they least expected it. And slowly, a new understanding began growing inside them. This was not just a passing idea. This was not a temporary emotion. This was not something that would disappear naturally with time. It was something they kept returning to again and again with honesty and careful thought. A possibility started forming. A possibility that this connection came into their life for a meaningful reason that should not simply be ignored. And with every passing day, that possibility feels more real than it did before. That one realization changed the way they viewed everything. It became a turning point they never saw coming. Since then, something inside them has been shifting little by little. It is not the type of change that other people can easily notice. It does not happen through dramatic words or obvious actions. It happens quietly beneath normal conversations, behind daily habits, and inside simple moments that appear ordinary from the outside. They are no longer questioning whether you made an impact on them. Deep inside, they already know the answer. There is no longer uncertainty about whether you became memorable. You already have. The question they now carry is much more personal. They wonder if they are finally ready to move closer to what they have been feeling before too much time passes. They ask themselves if waiting longer is truly helping or if it is only creating more distance from something meaningful. They wonder if staying quiet is protecting their heart or simply delaying a truth they can no longer ignore. These thoughts continue returning because the feeling inside them refuses to disappear. This part of the journey is more important than many people realize. It is the stage where someone begins protecting a feeling before they ever reveal it. It is the moment when emotions quietly become stronger than explanations. The heart begins choosing a direction before the mind can find the perfect words. That is why their conversations with you may still appear completely normal. Their behavior may seem calm. Their responses may seem controlled. Nothing on the outside may look dramatically different. But underneath that peaceful surface, something powerful is happening. Their feelings have become stronger than before. They may laugh, speak naturally, and continue their daily routine. Yet, after every interaction, they return to those moments again in their mind. They remember the things you said. They remember the way you expressed yourself. They remember the feeling of being around you. They notice your reactions, your expressions, and the small details that many people would overlook. Things that once appeared simple now carry a deeper meaning. Although they may look relaxed from the outside, inside they are observing more than you realize. Small changes do not go unnoticed. Small interactions become important. Shared moments become memories they want to keep. And when they choose silence, that silence should not be misunderstood as a lack of care. Sometimes silence carries the strongest emotions. Sometimes silence appears because a person finally understands that something has become valuable and they do not want to handle it carelessly. There are moments when silence is not rejection, it is not distance. It is simply a person becoming more thoughtful because they recognize the importance of what they are feeling. Stay with this idea because there is something deeper happening beneath what can be seen. Their thoughts have started moving toward the future for a reason. By now they have experienced enough moments to understand that you are not simply another person who appeared and disappeared from their story. It is not because everything between you has always been easy. It is not because every question has already been answered. It is not because every obstacle has vanished. It is because your presence creates a feeling they rarely experience. Something about being connected to you brings a sense of comfort and emotional stability. They cannot fully explain it. They may struggle to put it into words. But each day that passes seems to strengthen that feeling instead of weakening it. There is another thought they have quietly carried within themselves. It is something they rarely admit openly, even to those closest to them. Sometimes they imagine what would happen if another person reached your heart before they found the courage to express what they truly feel. That possibility affected them more deeply than they expected. It forced them to face something they had been avoiding for a long time. The idea of losing the opportunity to discover where this connection could lead feels heavier than they ever imagined. They tried telling themselves that there was plenty of time. They tried convincing themselves that there was no need to rush. They tried believing that waiting would make everything clearer. But slowly, they began understanding something important. Some opportunities do not remain exactly the same forever. Some moments require awareness. Some connections require courage. And the more they think about you, the more they realize this is not something they want to ignore. The feeling has continued growing through time, through distance, and through uncertainty. It has remained present even when they tried focusing on other things. And that persistence has shown them that what they are experiencing deserves attention. They may still be careful. They may still move slowly. They may still be searching for the right moment. But inside, a change has already happened. They no longer see you as someone ordinary. They see you as someone who has touched a part of their life that they did not expect anyone to reach. And that realization continues becoming stronger with every passing day. But that quiet concern kept returning until they reached a point where they could no longer push it away. The realization stayed close to them. It followed them during calm nights when everything around them became still and silent. It remained with them during crowded days when they tried to stay focused on their responsibilities and daily tasks. Even when they were surrounded by conversations, people, and distractions, the same thought continued appearing unexpectedly. No matter how much they tried shifting their attention somewhere else, it always found its way back. Because of this, they have become more aware of the smallest details about you. They notice changes in your voice that most people would completely miss. They notice differences in your energy. They recognize when your attention feels warmer or when your presence feels closer. They also notice the moments when you become quieter or seem more distant. Even the smallest shifts now catch their attention. Not because they want to control anything, not because they are creating stories that are not real. It happens because when someone begins seeing another person as part of their future, even the smallest signs start feeling meaningful. Tiny moments begin revealing things that large actions sometimes cannot. And perhaps what surprises them most is that they do not fully understand how visible these feelings have become. There are moments when simply hearing from you changes the entire direction of their day. A simple message from you can remain in their thoughts for hours. A normal conversation can become the most memorable part of an ordinary day. A small act of kindness can create a feeling that stays much longer than expected. Sometimes the smallest connection creates more happiness than the biggest events around them. These feelings usually do not appear without a reason. The heart does not repeatedly return to the same person unless something meaningful has started developing beneath the surface. There is another truth they have not completely accepted, even within their own thoughts. They trust the feeling they experience around you more than many words and promises they have heard from others. But that trust did not appear instantly. It was created slowly. It was built through repeated moments. It was formed through patience, observation, and experiences that seemed simple at the time, but later became important memories. Eventually, they reached a realization they could no longer avoid. Your presence does not leave them feeling lost. Instead, it creates a sense of direction. It brings peace into their thoughts. It creates a desire to understand more. It makes them genuinely curious about what the future could become. Because of that, they no longer see you as only someone connected to the present moment. Their thoughts have started moving beyond today. They think beyond simple conversations. They think beyond temporary situations. They think beyond brief meetings and passing circumstances. They have started wondering what remains if time continues moving forward while these feelings continue growing. That question keeps returning, and each time it returns, the answer seems a little easier to understand. The reason they think about tomorrow more often now is because something within them quietly feels that your paths crossed at a meaningful time. Before knowing you, they may have ignored emotions like this. Before knowing you, they may have stepped away before allowing something valuable to develop. Before knowing you, protecting their heart may have felt easier than opening it. They created barriers that seemed like protection. But those same barriers also prevented deeper connections from entering their life. Now something is different. Instead of pulling away, they are choosing to remain present. Instead of escaping these feelings, they are allowing themselves to understand them. Instead of pushing everything aside, they are letting these emotions exist naturally without trying to destroy them. When someone finally stops fighting what their heart continues showing them, life begins shifting in unexpected ways. And that is why the next chapter of this story may look very different from what either of you once imagined.